Make sure you're legally compliant with your personal projects and business ventures. I'm really pleased to welcome Danielle Curtis from Legal Diaries to the Selfmaker Show. She talks about the most important things to get right, to stay on the right side of the law. She's very entrepreneurial. She has her own products and services, so she really understands self-makers. This is a must-watch episode, and make sure to subscribe for future episodes. Enjoy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Selfmaker Show. This is your host, ConorLyn.ch. Hello, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
You too.
Would you mind, for the benefit of people who don't know you, maybe tell us your background?
Yeah, so my name is Danielle, Danielle Curtis. I am the face behind the Instagram platform and the social media platform Legal Diaries. It was founded in 2019. So my kind of personal background is I have an undergrad in political science. I have a master's in law, and I was recently called to the bar as a barrister in 2020. So I have a legal background myself personally, and at the moment, my day job, say, rather than my side hustle, is I work in human rights and public interest law, so assisting persons who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. So yeah, I just kind of started the platform because I don't come from an atypical route into the bar. So that's how the platform kind of started. It was my legal diary to becoming qualified. So now I'm just in the process of pivoting that at the moment and creating a business from it. And yeah, it's just exciting times.
Great. So tell us about maybe some career highlights in your so far. I know you're quite young, but anything that kind of stands out?
I feel like people think I'm a lot younger than I actually am. Like I remember doing a podcast last week, and she was like, "Oh, just out of interest, like what age you are?" And I'm 29. And she was like, "I honestly thought you were about 24." And I was like, "No, like I'm older than I appear." There's been a few. I suppose my most recent one being called to the bar because it was just a culmination of a lot of education and stuff for me, and a lot of time spent and financial, like money spent on getting to that point in my life. Like I think I financially, just fees alone, invested about 25,000. So like it's a very kind of financially burdensome kind of route to go, but it is absolutely feasible. Yeah, and I suppose kind of just highlights every day. I would never think of them as highlights until like I'm kind of asked, but people that reach out to the page and get assisted in some way. Like a lot of students would reach out to say that they found some of the content useful, or like I'm always open to speak about kind of my journey to the bar, and I've done that with a few people. And then yeah, I've met some incredible people through my own podcast. So yeah, there's been quite a lot. They've been quite small. I think career highlights are a very personal thing, and people often think that a career highlight has to be something huge and ever changing. Whereas for me, it's maybe been little bits of advice that I've gotten along the way, or people I've come across professionally who have been mentors for me, especially down at the bar.
Great. And did you always want to work in law?
Yeah, so even though I went in a roundabout way, so I've always been passionate about human rights, and that kind of started in 2016. I went over to Kenya and I worked there for a good few months, and I I came back and I was like gung ho, like this is exactly what I want to do. Like I want to do something in human rights. I want to be involved in like one of the big organizations for the UN. And then I got to my leaving cert and I just panicked. I was like, what if I don't want to do law? And I'd always found political science really interesting. So I just chose that, and it always stuck with me, and never kind of went away. So I kind of did some other overseas projects, and then I went over to my most recent one. I went over to Lesbos in Greece to work in the refugee camps. So yeah, it just stuck with me. And then I just applied for the master's. And I was education officer at the time for UCD Students' Union, and I was doing quite a lot of advocacy for students. So that was another kind of aspect of it. So it was that kind of quasi-judicial advocacy. And that led me to apply for the master's, was accepted. And then after that, I had kind of decided that I wanted, after going that far in my education, I wanted a professional qualification, because a lot of people don't realize that if you do a law degree or a law master's, you can't actually do any, well, you not that you can't do anything with it, but you can't legally advise people without having a professional qualification. So in Ireland, for anyone listening, that is either a solicitor or barrister. And I had worked with solicitors for the past 3 or 4 years at this point. And I just decided that the solicitor route wasn't for me. I'm in awe of like the work that they do. It just personally going through that whole route to qualification and doing a traineeship wasn't for me. And I was more drawn to the advocacy side of it, and the being at the bar and the courts and advocating and on your feet. So yeah, I went and did the barrister law degree in King's Inns part-time, and it was weird because I did 13 exams to qualify, all remotely because of COVID. So that was difficult in itself, but yeah, I was called last September, so September 2020. So it was
congratulations.
Thanks so much.
That's great. And so you're juggling a lot of things. You're very used to juggling. So
yeah,
juggling study, and tell us what side hustle means to you.
It kind of means a lot of things. Like I didn't get, like I know the platform has been there since 2019, but I didn't personally start to dedicate quite a lot of time to building it until I'd say probably 2020, and when March hit, and when I established the podcast and I started kind of doing a lot more networking and stuff. It kind of means though that you need to be like very good at juggling things and very organized. Like if I wasn't organized, I would not be able to do everything I do. But I think there's a certain type of personality, a person who's prone to having a side hustle, and that's what I found. Like they're generally quite ambitious people, and they're generally quite people who are creative and have great ideas, and have the ability to kind of run a lot of projects or a lot of tasks alongside each other, but do them quite well. But it's also one of my biggest flaws, because like we have this when I finished the bar, so when I was qualifying, I worked full-time in a really kind of hectic environment. I worked part-time as well, and I also qualified for I was doing the BL degree at the weekends, and then I had other side kind of projects that I was working on. I do kind of a conference over in New York each year for Model UN, and then I started sitting on a board of directors for Youth Africa program, so I had a lot going on. And when I qualified, I remember my boyfriend saying to me, right now you can live your life in third gear rather than living your life in fifth gear. But I just went back to fifth gear, because I was like, okay, now I'm qualified, I'm going to pivot Legal Diaries and do something with that. I'm going to really dedicate time to my podcast. And I think I can often do that. And I think a lot of people are the same, to the detriment of themselves. So yeah, but I get, like, I like the buzz and the adrenaline of being busy. And being in fifth gear. So I think it's a blessing and a curse. Like
Excellent. And so tell us more about the plans then for Legal Diaries based on your experience so far.
Yeah, so there's a few things upcoming, which is super exciting. It's all kind of coming to a head this month. So this month we are launching a product, which is really exciting. So I'm a stationery queen. Like, I love stationery. My mum always says, like, most kids went to bed with like a teddy bear or something. I brought like a bag of stationery to bed with me. Like, I was that kid. So I'm launching a desk planner, and that's due to launch the last week in February. So yeah, and like, anyone listening, if you want to go purchase one, I can definitely give Connor a discount code for self-makers. That's no problem. But yeah, I personally decided to go in and test the market with a desk planner, just because I didn't want to dive deep in. It's always been my dream to have a legal diary for Legal Diaries, but I kind of wanted to start small, test the market, see if it's there, see if there's an appetite. And yeah, we have some kind of great people on board that are in that kind of StudyGram community, that are gonna promote it, and a few side hustlers that are on board as well. And it's just it's a planner that, like, I've purchased so many desk planners over the years, but it's a planner that's how I organize my brain and how I organize my life. And I think it would be beneficial for other people, especially side hustlers. So I'm super excited about that. And then in March, we are launching the big kind of business, which is Legal Diaries Consultancy. So Legal Diaries Consultancy is it's actually myself, and I brought a business partner on board for it, just because there's so much going on with it. So it is a legal and communications consultancy service. So I've always kind of been passionate about sustainability. So that's where this idea came from. And a lot of people have misconceptions about sustainability, where they think it's all about the environment, but there's also the economic and the social pillar. And I'm really passionate about those two. So I was getting a lot of businesses, small Irish businesses, reaching out to me and asking me like legal questions and stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a way that I can leverage my skill set here to assist these people. So I kind of started Legal Diaries Consultancy as a way to make all the kind of boring, scary, overwhelming legal stuff accessible and affordable to entrepreneurs and small Irish businesses. Where the communications comes in, I've just happened to work in communications for the past 5-6 years, and I have kind of a good skill set there. I've led communications for a busy not-for-profit in Ireland for the past 4 years, and yeah, I just said I'd kind of bring that, because they're the kind of two things that you need when you start a business. So you need to legally protect yourself, then you also need to be able to communicate yourself in a concise manner exactly what you do. So yeah, that's launching in March 23rd, I think it is. It's like the last week of March anyway. It's launching that Wednesday. So yeah, awesome. It's terrifying, but it's exciting. We're just uplifting. So it would be Legal Diaries and on the website, but I'm just uplifting the whole website at the moment. And yeah, so it's exciting.
That's brilliant. Congratulations. That sounds really, really exciting. Yeah. Can I ask you about the product? Because that's quite interesting, where you've developed something that you've always loved yourself. And tell me about the journey to creating a product, and where you sourced it, and how is it? Tell me about it. So sell it to me, so I might get one.
Yeah, it's so it's a desk planner. So it's an A4 desk planner, and it's kind of a culmination of all the different tried and tested productivity hacks that I've used over the years. And two kind of methods that have stuck with me are, because I'm, say, a side hustler and I have a lot of kind of balls in the air, I like to be able to visually see what I have going on with my work life and what I have going on with my life in one setting. So that kind of came to the fore. I also like to track things like habits because it keeps me on track. Like I often sacrifice myself, so it keeps me on track to make sure I'm drinking water, I'm exercising, I'm looking after myself. And then it also incorporates in priorities and a task list, and that is like one of the biggest things that I can recommend to someone who has a lot of things going on. Is I generally use the Ivy Lee method. So every night before I go to bed, I'll write down my top 6 priorities for each area of kind of everything that's going on, and they'll be in order of priority, so in order of precedent, and it's kind of a way of grounding yourself. So when you start the next day, you know exactly kind of what's going on for each thing, and you know what the definite things you have to do. Because I think when you have a long running task list, you can kind of be really overwhelmed by it, and you can kind of be like, okay, well, I have to do this, this, and this. Whereas if you just sit down, even if you don't want to do 6, you can do 3. And just, you know, when you head into the work the next day. And it's a really good kind of way at the end of a work day to switch your brain off. So I will always do it at my desk, and leave it there. And then it's there first thing in the morning. So yeah, it's just kind of a culmination of that. And then obviously I'm really passionate about sustainability. So I wanted to, I designed it myself, and I wanted to kind of print in Ireland, print with fully recyclable materials, and make it. And I also am doing a digital planner. So if you are one of those people who uses your iPad or your desktop for all of your planning, I have an option for you. And yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's exciting.
That's great, because I know I've picked up the bullet journal. Is it bullet journal? And there's so many different potential tools, and it's like I really like the sound of that, because I've got the same type of challenge, and I've recently I put up like a small little whiteboard to cover off kind of habits, because I tend, like you mentioned, you kind of tend to leave them behind sometimes when you get very, very busy. So I think you've ticked all the boxes there. That sounds great.
Yeah, because that is definitely one thing. Like I will forget to exercise, forget to move, realize I haven't seen daylight, or like I've seen it out the window, but I haven't seen it like being out in it. So just having those like small things, and having it specifically on your desk as an open desk planner is really great. So and it's really funny that you say bullet journal, because I love bullet journals, but they do take a long time to curate and get the way you want them to be. And I like that malleability of them. But a lot of my friends, even though like I'm creative, but I'm not good at like art at all. I just can't draw. I just don't have that skill set. And a lot of my friends are always like, oh my God, but your layouts and your spreads, and if you're ever on Instagram, like there's a whole bullet journal community on Instagram. And I'm like, well, I'm not artistically talented, but I still love a bullet journal for everything it can kind of be, because it allowed me to create the schedule that I've now created to put out as a product. So yeah, it's exciting.
Excellent. So you obviously, we wanted to chat to you about legal issues, and I say I would work a lot with independent workers and entrepreneurs who want to have an entrepreneurial career. And so I have a fair idea myself of different legal things that come up through a career and through new ventures, etc. But I wanted to really get your opinion on what are the key things for somebody to be thinking about in regards to without legal, staying right side of the law.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's really easy to set up a business. No matter kind of where you are, it takes about a day. But there's a difference between setting up a business and setting up a business that has a solid legal foundation, so you can grow and scale that business, and also kind of protect yourself and protect your assets and everything that you personally own. So the first thing you need to consider is the business structure. So do you want to be a sole trader, or do you want to be a company limited by guarantee? And they come with both pros and cons. Obviously, a sole trader, very easy to start up. You generally can trade in your own name, register a business name. But if anything, if you were to try get financing for the business, or like it's your name on the line, it's your assets that are attached to the business. If someone wants to, say for example, if someone wanted to sue Joe Bloggs' business, they would go after Joe Bloggs himself. So really you need to kind of look at your market and look at your product and see. Sole trader and setting up is really straightforward, and it's really great for people who are creatives. So people who may have a photography business, and where there's kind of limited expense on your behalf and also limited risk on your behalf. A company limited by guarantee, there's also, before I move on, there's a lot less kind of reporting requirements. So you can do kind of your books yourself. You don't need to put in your accounts. So in terms of the company's registrations office and revenue, it's a lot more manageable personally. Company limited by guarantee obviously comes with the benefit of it's a company, so you can seek finance as a company. Anything that happens, if someone isn't satisfied with your product, they will come after the company rather than you. So you have that shield. So it's called Solomon Shield. So you have that shield protecting you. Now there are ways that can be broken, but that they generally don't arise for anyone who's a general business. The also other benefit that you have is any kind of monies that come into the business, if you're going to put them back into the business, they're only going to be taxed at 12.5%. But any monies that you draw down from the business, this is where people get confused. They're like, oh, I'm going to earn so much more money myself because I'm only being taxed 12.5%. But any monies that you draw down yourself as a wage is taxed the same as if you were a sole trader. So it's the same as if income tax is taxed. But it gives you kind of more liquidity in terms of money going back into the business. It does come with a lot more reporting requirements. So you can have a micro CLG, which is a smaller entity and has less kind of reporting requirements, but you also need to make sure you fit in with those requirements of a micro CLG. So you have a cap on how much you can kind of earn, how much turnover you can have, which is great for people who are starting out. There's also a really handy provision in the Companies Act, which, like, within the first 18 months of trading, you don't have to kind of have your AGM, because when you put all your kind of your constitution, your memorandum of articles together, you obviously put in these provisions about having your AGM, about having just general meetings and different kind of committees that you're going to have, and whether or not you're going to file, you're going to have to put in an audit. Yet you have kind of an 18-month transition period. So there is kind of a run-in time. So it's not like you start and you now need to be really proficient at this and know how to do this and be able to work with core. So that would be the first one. And that's the same everywhere. Like, no matter where you are, like, depend on what your product is and what your service that you're offering. Maybe an LLC in some countries, or in Ireland, a CLG is a lot more kind of beneficial to what you want to offer. The second thing you need to consider is insurance. So do you need to be covered by insurance? So say personally in my practice, I need to be covered by professional indemnity insurance. And if you take on if you're going to run events in person, and if you are taking on employees, you need kind of other insurance just to kind of protect yourself. And with insurance, I always have the caveat of acting within the scope. So I will never hold myself out to be an engineer for a client. So you never want to get into a kind of area where you are holding yourself out to a client, that you are like proficient in an area that you're not, because your insurance will cover you for certain aspects. So my insurance covers me for legal and communications consultancy. If I'm to go consult with someone in relation to interior design or anything like that, like, I'm not covered. So you need to be kind of sure that you're acting within your scope. The next one you need to consider, and people hate this word, but this is where kind of we came in, or like legal diaries comes in, as contracts. So what contracts do you need in place to run your business? So if we take the kind of the creative like solopreneur kind of example of a photographer, they will want to have a contract in place with any clients that they're taking on. So, and people always hear contract and they're like, oh, that sounds legally binding and really scary. But all it is a document setting out the expectations of both parties. And the benefit of having a contract is then you can then enforce that contract if a client isn't going to pay you, or if a client comes back and says you were actually supposed to give me 200 photos, whereas you only produced 150, you can then go back and refer to the terms of the contract. Or the same for a graphic designer, if they only give one revision and the person's like, no, you said you'd give like 4 or 5, look at the terms of the contract and it will clearly set that out. And that's where legal diaries comes in, and we're going to be doing up template contracts so people can go on our website and purchase those template contracts. So there'll be ones for a lot of different ones. So the popular ones at the moment that I'm getting contacted about are virtual assistants, so people that have set up to be a VA, people, social media marketers, social media management, bookkeeping, so people who have an accountancy qualification who are kind of just doing freelance, photographers, and other kind of creative industries. So we will have templates for people to purchase, and then you just amend them according to your preference, but it will have all the kind of required legally binding items. So say if you are a graphic designer but you contract with someone within the UK, all of our contracts will have a provision which will say that any disputes within the contract need to be dealt with in Ireland. So that means that if they bring anything against you, you're not being chased over to the UK. And then the other flip coin of contracts is you need to make sure your contracts are executed properly. So they're signed correctly, because they don't really mean anything if they're not executed correctly. And then if they're not executed correctly, you therefore can't enforce them. And the final thing, which a lot of people overlook, and we will have these as well as templates, is majority of people have a website now for their business. Like if they don't have a website, they have some form of Instagram shop or some form of online presence. So there are legal requirements which come with that online presence. So things like a privacy policy, things like a disclaimer, terms and conditions, a refund policy. So if you are just putting out kind of a service and just gathering people's personal data that way, but not kind of selling product on your website, you probably need a privacy policy and a disclaimer. If you are selling items on your site, which a lot of people probably are, you should have a terms and conditions and you should have a refunds policy. And there we'll have templates for all of those. So you can purchase them as a bundle, or you can purchase them individually of what you need, and they're completely kind of interchangeable. A lot of people always say to me, sure, I don't need a template because I can just go on to such and such a person's website and steal their privacy policy. Technically it's illegal. So like it's a product of their website and a product of their business. So you can't just go on and do a copy and paste. But our templates are made to be kind of malleable. So they have those kind of specific provisions. So obviously GDPR is a big one, and how you're going to handle and deal with people's data and how long you're going to retain them. So they're the kind of must-dos, like to have that legally solid foundation in place. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Great. That's great. That's a whistle stop through a journey through to my career and different things that I've become much better at, because you start off knowing nothing. When I started off as an employee, you don't even have to deal with that. But then as you start dabbling and doing more side hustles and doing things on your own, these are all areas that you start learning more and more about.
Yeah.
So is there a legal mindset? So like your way of thinking. So based on all these different documents, is there a way of thinking as well that keeps you on the right side again of the law? So
yeah, like I suppose that's kind of where it comes in. So if you're ever in doubt about anything, you should always kind of check it and make sure that you have that kind of legal foundation in place. And that's kind of where we, like, a lot of people were reaching out to me, small Irish businesses, because they happen to see I just was doing quite a lot of support for them, and they happen to see I was a barrister in my bio. So that's where we kind of came in, that we wanted to put together this easy to use but yet affordable service. So not only will we have kind of legal templates and legal modules, so bundle packs that you can kind of purchase, but we'll also have consultation prices for communications and for legal. So if you're ever kind of in doubt, just ask us. And like, if it's only like we'll be doing 20-minute discovery calls as well, so you can book a discovery call with us and ask us maybe 2 or 3 kind of niggling questions you have.
Great.
And if it's kind of something that we'll say, oh, we can address it, what we'll do is we can go away and price a project. Or if it's something that we can say, well, we'll direct you to our templates on our website and they should address the issue you have. Like, it's really, especially when you want to scale your business, that's when you really need to go back to the drawing board. And because when you want to scale, you're obviously going to bring in employees. What nature of relationship are you going to have with them? Like, there's kind of points in your business journey that you should take a step back and think, am I legally compliant, and do I need to do anything else? So the way we kind of view Legal Diaries is we are your legal sidekick. So that's what we do. So it's our kind of bread and butter. My business partner has worked in corporate for like 5+ years, 6 or so years. So I've also worked for not-for-profit, that's company limited by guarantee, and would have done kind of revenue and all that kind of stuff and payroll. So I'm familiar with all those requirements.
That's great.
But yeah, and like we won't always have the answer, but we have the skill set to get the answer. So we might come back to you and say, I don't know the answer on that, but leave it with me and I will find out. But even like, I was recently drafting a memorandum of articles for of association for a small kind of arts company in Galway, and she sent me their first draft, and she was like, oh, I'm really embarrassed, like this is like really short, and they kind of had like a provision to just say, we endorse kind of all of the provisions of the Companies Act. And I was like, you don't really want to endorse all the provisions of the Companies Act if you want to be a micro CLG. Like some of those provisions won't apply to you. So I went away, and for a fee, I just drafted their whole items for them, all the articles and stuff like that. And it was so much more. What would have taken her probably 3 or 4 hours took me. So I think you just need to admit to yourself when you need to outsource legal things.
Yeah, exactly.
And just do it.
Yeah, no, I think I love the way that you have this, you break it down and you can get 20 minutes and then you can get a document, a template. And so I think it's very, very accessible for people. And so the main thing is to ask that question and not be worrying about something. Ask the question, keep your eyes open. But obviously some people make mistakes. Is there some kind of common pitfalls that they obviously haven't thought of all those other areas?
Yeah.
But anything that people that comes up?
Yeah. So one thing that arises quite a lot is people have trouble enforcing agreements because they don't have a legally binding contract in place. The second thing that I have found that comes up quite often is, especially if you're a sole trader, so you have this kind of mindset that you are, so say if you're manufacturing a product, so say I did all the kind of process for the planners. When I went to the company to go get printed and stuff, I was communicating with the company as a business owner. So because I was communicating with them as a business owner, all of the protections that come with like the consumer acts and stuff do not apply to me. So if you want those same level of protections, you need to have a contract in place. So if you are going back to the same printer, the same manufacturer, it is really beneficial for you to put a contract in place. And all that has to say is it can basically mimic the kind of protections a consumer gets. So so that the product will be as described, fit for purpose, all the kind of generic things. But that is one pitfall that people, they're always like, oh, but I went back to them and with all these consumer acts, and I'm like, but you're not a consumer. Like, you are a business trading as a business, doing business as a business, and not a consumer. So yeah, and it doesn't have to be something absolutely crazy. Like it can be a one pager of just like the general provisions. Or even if you want to guarantee that you're always going to get a fixed price from the client, if you're going to always go back to them for manufacturing or your product, you want to just get that in writing, just so you can keep your pricing of your product stable for your customer. So they'd be the kind of main two. The other one that we've started doing and offering as a service is, a lot of people think it's really easy to just set up a website, but they're always falling down on like disclaimer, privacy policy, data processor agreements if they need them for GDPR. So we've started to go in for a few companies and do it takes us about an hour to do, but we will do an audit. So you can get an audit for your website for €100, and we will go in and we will do the whole audit, and then we will then give you a discounted price to any of the kind of policies that we flag that you need. But the amount of kind of websites that I've just done for friends that I'm like, oh wow, like you just don't have. I was like, and even one thing that every person in Ireland, or not even in Ireland, anyone that is trading within the EU, you need to have a cookies banner as soon as you enter onto your website under the new e-directive. So it needs to be there. So someone has to be able to manage their cookie preferences as soon as they come onto your website. Doesn't matter if you're based in Ireland, once you're trading with a European Union country or your market's open to the EU, you need to have that cookies banner.
Yeah. As any other kind of watch outs for people?
There are probably like a good few. Like, one thing that always comes back is obviously if you are producing a product or even a service, like if you want to trademark that service, like if you want to, a lot of people will see people copycats pop up and stuff. So just kind of like, and we do have modules on that. So how you kind of nip that in the bud and how you protect the content that is on that website. Yeah. So it's not all about just protecting the consumer on your website. You also need to protect all the products. So say in mine, like we will have like whole blogs. We will obviously have our legal templates, but people have to purchase them. But we'll have other kind of snippets. And you want to protect all that kind of content because it is an asset of your business. Yeah. So that's kind of another thing where people would fall down and not know how to deal with kind of copycats.
Great. Well, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there, obviously, and then but it's good to know that somebody can talk to somebody like you and make it sound quite straightforward and to have the answers and the documents. And so I know I'll be calling you very, very soon.
Yeah, like we pitch ourselves as we are kind of your legal and communications sidekick. We're your one-stop shop for absolutely everything that you need to start your business. So to get the foundation there, but legally and like we do websites as well, and we do all those. We do logo design and brand concept and business analysis if you want to scale. But our kind of thing is like, we got you, you go build your empire. So we've got all the foundations, you kind of go do what you want to do. So like if someone's listening and they're based in Ireland and they find the process of registering as a company is completely over their head, contact us and we'll do it. So like you don't need to kind of, and it like there are a lot of services out there for business registration that will do it. but like they're very costly. So ours is like, we want to make it like affordable and accessible, because we are like business women ourselves starting out, and we are putting all of our money into this personally. So we understand, like, you don't have that extra 300-400 to just put into setting up your business, when then you have to go purchase a person to do the website or purchase this. So that's a really, we want to keep it as accessible and affordable, because like I'm all for Irish business. So the amount of Irish businesses, if we can all set up tons of Irish businesses and get them like thriving, it'd be so good for the economy.
That's very, very, very true, and badly needed. Is there any we're wrapping up shortly, any kind of books or podcasts or videos or people that inspire you, that you listen to, that you'd like to share?
There's like I had the great privilege of having Noelle O'Connor, who's the founder of Tanner Organics, came on a podcast, and I just find her, like, I love Irish businesses, but like women in Irish business and who are doing incredible things, but also doing sustainably credible things, are just like so she kind of encompasses quite a lot, and she's so lovely and down to earth. So she would be a person who I would quite admire on the Irish scene. In terms of books and stuff, there's, like, I've read Tim Ferriss's book. It's quite good. And there's another kind of ones like Atomic Habits, and there's Ego is the Enemy, and there's a lot of kind of books out there. But honestly, like, my best advice is to just reach out to someone who is potentially in your market. So when I wanted to do the stationery line, so we don't have anyone in our market for the legal consultancy. Like, it's a very kind of like a new concept in Ireland. There are ones overseas, so we reached out to them. But for the stationery, I reached out to some Irish companies, and like, you might think that some people just didn't respond, but that's not a reflection on you. But some people did. And one lady in particular, she had like a Zoom conversation with me, gave me all the kind of advice I could ask for. And at a time where we're so online, it is so easy to just pop someone an Instagram message and ask them. And they're the most valuable resources I've had. And I've created really good kind of long lasting friendships with women in business that I've never met in person. So like, and it's insane. Yeah. And like I've another kind of project going on with another Instagrammer, and we just completely met through Instagram, recorded a few podcasts together, and now we're working on this really exciting kind of passion project for both of us. So just reach out to people.
You're that's inspirational, that people don't have to hold off on networking when we are still connected and we're still networked.
Yeah,
so it's great that it's working for you.
Yeah, and like, that's how everyone's like, so many of my friends are like, how did you get that person for your podcast? And I'm like, I just messaged them. Like, you just kind of need to be shameless in a way. Like, you just need to put yourself out there, and that is very scary to do. But just kind of curate a simple message, introducing yourself, go out there. If they ignore you, so what? If they come back to you and say no, it's an answer you now have. And most of the time, majority of them will come back and be like, I'm so like thankful that you asked. Like, here's so yeah. So like, say for example, like if I hadn't initially, I can't remember if I reached out to you, that kind of relationship wouldn't have built.
I would have got to you probably first, I think.
Yeah.
I might have seen you,
But that's what I mean. Like, it's kind of, you kind of get to a point where you're like, how did we meet each other? And then you're like, oh yeah, like through. So and like LinkedIn is a great networking tool as well.
Brilliant. But let you get back. You've a lot to get done today, no doubt. I've really enjoyed our chat. There's been so much useful information. It's been very, very clear for lots of people now how the things they need to address. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to chatting to you more about your services and how we might be able to collaborate with you. And
yeah, definitely. And like anyone that is listening, our general email is just hello, HELLO, at legaldiaries.ie. And then on Instagram, we're just legaldiaries.ie. And the website is just www.legaldiaries.ie. A lot of you may be confused when you go on the website because it's a platform in transition at the moment. But we're starting to put up some kind of business blog kind of series. And yeah, so I'm doing quite a fun, I'm such a nerd. I love my platform to be educational, which doesn't appeal to everyone, but I'm currently doing kind of like how to adult and financial management at the moment. But a lot of those tips are transferable to people who kind of want to save and build up money to build that side hustle that they have. And as I said, like my DMs on Instagram and that email is always open. So just reach out to me, and like if you have a simple legal question, I can probably answer it and give you a steer of if we can assist you, what you need to do, and if you go away and try do it and can't, then just come back to us.
Great. So thank you so much, Danielle. As everyone can see, you're very, very accessible, and I hope people get in touch with you, and I look forward to talking to you again very, very soon.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Danielle. Have a lovely day.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with Danielle Curtis, and make sure you subscribe for future episodes. Come and join our community, which has got regular free virtual events. It's on members.selfmakers.com. As we want to help you be your own business and achieve self-made success, go to selfmakers.com to get your free gift of a sample workbook. Bye for now.